My name is Jim Shanesy. There are no U's, G's, or double S's in my name. Simplest possible way. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. I now live in Gaithersburg, Maryland, which is suburban Washington, D.C. And I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, where my dad ran a photo engraving plant. They made rotary cylinders for the commercial packaging industry. So I was weaned with this small fixture in my nose. And I started, actually, I think Dad put a darkroom in the basement when I was 10 or 12 years old. And I was fanatical in high school. I remember we took a tour of Europe that was sponsored by the local university when I was 16. And my dad only gave me a fixed amount of money. I think it was $300 to spend over the 6 weeks we were going to be in Europe. And you know, that was pretty good money back in 1966. So we were in Switzerland, and I bought a side Pentax for my last $100, and I starved to death the rest of the trip. And I really didn't photograph much in my early 20s or in college. I don't know why I picked it up again, and I didn't get really serious about it until I was actually in my early 50s. And my work has become more abstract over the years. I think largely because of two epiphanies, if you will, that I had in overcoming fears, certain fears. The first of which, well, first let me say why I do what I do. I have always believed that it is better to do a common thing uncommonly well than it is to do, or one thing, uncommonly well, and it is to do a lot of uncommon things pretty well. So I stick with it because I seem to get better at it all the time. And that's why I stick with a traditional process. It's been around for more than 100 years. You know, aside from the wonderful expense and inconvenience. The other reason is that, the reason I use a large format camera is that I don't see images. I can't really get good images unless I'm looking at a ground glass. And I was talking with JB and Susan last night, and they agreed that the fact that it's upside down and backwards tends to stimulate the right side of the brain. Or in my case, since I'm left-handed, it could be the left side of the brain. In the book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, there is an exercise they have you do. You've read the book.
Yes, I have.
And they give you a portrait, I think it's Picasso's portrait of Stravinsky. And they tell you to turn the book upside down and look at it with, this side, and then draw it upside down. And if you try that exercise, it's amazing how close you will come, because I can't draw at all. It's amazing how close you will come to that famous sketch. So I think that has a lot to do with it. So I was at a workshop, and there was this guy there, a participant who had been a protege of Raghuveer Singh, who to me is the finest street photographer who ever did anything. And he photographed his beloved India for years, and there is a marvelous structure to his pictures. Even though he was, photographing street scenes, his construction, his composition, it makes you mindful of all these great artists of the past. Everything from Gauguin to Jackson Pollock. It's remarkable. Paul Strand said, all good art is abstract in its structure. So this guy took a look at my work, And he said, I know what your problem is. And of course I'm going, oh, teach me, old wise one. And he said, you're afraid of pure abstraction. You're afraid that somebody won't know what this place is, or, you know, what you're trying to say. And I thought about that, and when I took that to heart, it was very liberating. So my work has become more abstract all the time. The other revelation I had was when it involves this picture. I put up 3 pictures. I couldn't decide what I wanted to submit to one of Steve's radar gallery auctions. So I put 3 pictures up on Facebook. I said, tell me, Facebook friends, which one of these would you select? And about a day later, Paletti called me up, and he never calls me up. And he said, don't do that. And I said, do what? And he said, play to an audience. If you need to do what you do, and to hell with who doesn't like it. He said, first of all, you're displaying hubris and arrogance in assuming that you know more about what your audience will like than they do. He said, I promise you, if you are true to yourself and your vision, people will respond to it more than if you do what you think they'll like. And I think he was right. I ended up selecting that one and submitting it, and the lady who bought it just almost hugged it. I mean, she was gushy about it. So I said to Paul, well, doesn't that also betray an arrogance? Isn't that selfish? And he said, no, just the opposite. Because if you are true to yourself, you are giving of yourself when you present the image. So, I mean, there they are. I hope you like them. As Weston said, once I show you the print, I, as the artist, am fulfilling my obligation to you as the viewer. But I am willing to talk about any of them. They're all contact prints. They're like 4 different films I've used over the years, 3 different developers, 2 different papers. I want you, Steve, to try to pick out the Lodima. There's one of them that's printed on Lodima. All the rest are on Haza.
Well, I have the good fortune of Lodima is in the air right now, coming to my house because it's been gifted to me by a workshop student that came to me. So
Tested for fall.
I don't really know what it looks like, but
I find it interesting that these 2, even in a portrait, I try to make the subject integral to the composition, to the, you know, the abstract structure, if you will. I think I've done a very poor job of that with this one, but a very good job of it with this one. And it seems like some of my best work is the 4x5, and I don't know why, because the aspect ratio is the same as 8x10. I do better with that aspect ratio than I do with 5x7. You know, Strand had a baffle put in the back of his camera, of his 5x7 camera, so that it would be the 4x5 aspect ratio. So you would see that in the ground glass. And, you know, his film, it like 6x7 or 5 by, you know, 5.5x7, whatever. This one I like, but I like this one a lot more.
It's more abstract?
Hmm?
It's more abstract?
Yeah, I think so.
I think there's more movement in it as well. I think
Yeah.
the one to the left is a little more static.
Negative and positive space are better separated.
So are you thinking that it's something, when you're looking at 8x10 ground glass, is there something different happening? Is there a tendency that you have that is different in your visualizing something, or your interaction with that size, that,
You know,
that's an interesting thing.
it might be that the camera is so much easier to work with.
Yeah, yeah.
That I'm faster and I can translate what I see to what I want to see.
It keeps up with you a little bit.
Yes, I think
more
that's
quickly.
part of it.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm, especially if I'm close
Yeah.
with a 19-inch lens,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to actually reach around and
Yeah.
move it.
It's interesting you say that, because I prefer the 8x10 just because it's larger. I have a bigger image when I'm looking. When I have a 4x5, you know, it's just, I gotta stare and look a lot harder.
When it comes together in an 8x10, it, you know, can be really strange.
Do you ever consider enlarging a 4x5 image
Yeah,
to
for about
8x10?
2 seconds.
Why is that?
I don't know, I think you lose something when you put it through a lens. There's a purity to the contact print that I don't. Now, I know Steve used to make contact prints, and he doesn't anymore. And his images are breathtaking. Maybe I should try it. I don't know. Of course, the 8x10s would be a little tough. I don't have access to anything larger that big. Or even 5x7, I don't think. I don't own an enlarger, and that's part of the reason. And I can use, there's a community darkroom that's very good, and they have a lot of Durst enlargers, you know, with heads like Steve's, where I can dial in what I want. I don't know, I just don't seem to do as well with them. But maybe I should try, I don't know.
Well, it may be technically true that, you know, you lose something going from a 4x5 negative to 8x10 print, but there's an awful lot there.
Yeah.
So this
I think
first,
would not be, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
that
No,
would,
go ahead.
that would not be perceptible to almost everyone that I know.
I'm sorry, I'm just curious about the first image. In terms of direction, how much directing was there in that? I mean, it
I
just.
have never asked her to pose.
Okay.
She always presents herself to the camera however she wants. And I actually have some remarkable pictures of them. It's my daughter, of course. And she has an enigmatic smile that she puts into portraits. That is remarkable. It's one of the reasons I love this one. And she had that look even when she was a toddler. You know, both of my daughters have always respected authority if you earn it. You know, they're always, they question everything. They challenge everything. And when you earn their respect, they're very loyal. So I have pictures of them just from like when she was 2 or 3. It has this same look, you know. Prove to me that you're worthy of my respect. They talk around it, and they don't realize that your work only begins when they say no. If everybody said yes, there's no need for you. And it's sort of the same way with this. If I look at something with my eyes, I'm never going to see the same thing under the dark cloth. A, because the perspective is different, and because I'm taking in everything with my eyes. I'm not isolating anything when I do that. So my work does not begin until I'm under that dark cloth. And I think that's another reason why it really doesn't matter what camera I have with me. I'm going to use what I have with me at the time.
I think the 4x5 contact prints are great. Keep doing them. A generation ago, 4x5 prints might have been kind of too close to your drugstore, 1 hour photo type
Yeah.
stuff that everybody has, but nobody has that anymore either. That's gone. So
Now, the
this
5x7s
is special.
are easier for the audience to see, but I don't see as well with this aspect ratio as I do with the 4x5. I don't know why that is either. Maybe it's because I've done so much work with the 4x5 shape than I have with 5x7, and I should do more.
That's what makes us all different.
Yeah.
I think that your compositions in 4x5 hold together better from a distance even.
Do they?
And
Yeah,
it might be that the ground glass is so small that you have to look at the bigger image, the image has to hold together in order for you to really find that. Whereas with the 8x10, you got this big thing and you're looking at details.
Have you ever seen Dali's Persistence of Memory? You know, the one with the floppy clocks? You ever seen that painting in the flesh? It's about this size. You see it in the book and you think, it must cover a wall, but it's really small. We painted it on a desk, I'm sure.
Yeah, I wonder if with the 4x5, the reality is you can step back further from the ground glass and get a sense of it than the 8x10. I mean, it might be-
That's true, because you're immersed in the image. when
Yeah,
you're-
and I don't know how large your dark cloth is, but, with the 4x5, you can step back, get a sense of the moment. At the 8x10, I think, you talk about the detail, and maybe getting back further, would be the answer, because I have that same sensation. You get caught up in sometimes the details of that larger ground glass, and the bigger the camera, the more you get caught up with parts of the image instead of the whole image.
A friend of mine made me a modification of an old Polaroid, and I can put, a Graphmatic in there, or a regular holder. So I can hand hold this 4x5. You remember Dewan? He made that for me. He's a true rocket scientist. He made it.
One's the bomb.
I
man.
can't do squat testing. It's this format, it's this aspect ratio, but it's not a ground glass, it has a rangefinder. So I'm at the same position I am with my little Fuji video. Great for snapshots, that little else.
In terms of viewing through the ground glass, I often try to, I often squint a little bit to remove the high frequency details, just to get a sense of the
Overall structure.
the structure, the overall structure of the image and relationships of the larger elements, to get a more graphic feel for what you're looking at.
Do that defocused as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, when you squint, it just removes a lot of the, perhaps distracting elements in what you see.
Well,
I'm gonna interrupt.